Have you ever wondered what would happen if the great tapestry of history was unraveled and woven anew? Welcome, everyone, to a world reborn. A blank slate where civilization begins again. Inspired by the incredible Adiz Pro, this is a new series where we ask that very question: what if it all started over? I will be your narrator, your guide through this new dawn. I will be your eyes and ears on the fields of war, in the courts of kings, and in the secret chambers where history is forged. Together, we will witness the birth of empires and the ashes of their demise, the forging of unbreakable alliances, and the bitter sting of betrayal. The chronicle of this new world begins now. I hope you enjoy the journey. We journey now to the cradle of civilization, the sun-scorched lands of Northeast Africa. Here, where the arid desert kisses the shores of the vibrant Red Sea, history holds its breath. From the dust of scattered tribes and the chaos of ancient rivalries, a new order emerges. Look! A crimson banner is raised against the turquoise water, the symbol of the world's first unified nation. It is a kingdom born from the red earth and forged in the heat of the unforgiving sun, a beacon of power clinging to the life-giving coast. Their story is the first to be written, not in sand, but in stone. The Age of Thirst and Blood. Before the first flag was ever raised, the peoples of the Red Sea coast knew only two constants: the thirst for water and the spilling of blood. For generations, a dozen tribes clawed at the arid land, their lives dictated by the whims of the sky and the location of the few precious oases. The Zafari tribe controlled the best fishing grounds, the Kale tribe held the only quarry of workable stone, and the nomadic Rishan tribe knew the secret paths to the highlands where the rains sometimes fell. They fought constantly. A stolen goat could lead to a generation of warfare. A diverted stream could mean the death of a village. They were a people fractured and weak, their collective strength squandered in endless, petty conflicts while the desert encroached, threatening to swallow them all. The Age of Unveiling. With the famine broken and their capital of Sarah thriving, the people of Akhamar turned their gaze from their immediate survival to the vast, empty spaces on their maps. A generation had passed since the unification, and a new hunger gripped the nation, not for food, but for knowledge. What lay beyond the familiar coastal plains? What secrets did the great desert hold? And were they truly alone in this world? This became known as the Age of Unveiling. The Nations Council, led by the aging but still sharp-witted Amara, decreed two great exploration efforts, two prongs of a great venture into the unknown. Into the inferno, the Sunstriders. The Sahara was their backyard and their greatest fear. To turn their back on it was to invite ignorance and danger. The descendants of the Rishan nomads, now the most respected guides in Akhamar, formed an elite expeditionary group known as the Sunstriders. Sun. Clad in white linen to repel the brutal sun and leading hardy, domesticated gazelles, they pushed inland, deeper than their ancestors had ever dared. Their mission was not conquest, but to listen to the desert's whispers. They followed ancient, dry riverbeds, navigated by the stars at night, and learned to find water not in oases, but hidden in the roots of deep-growing, thorny plants. For months, there was no word. Many in Sarah feared them lost, swallowed by the sands. Then, a scout returned, gaunt but triumphant. The Sunstriders had found the impossible. The salt pans, a vast, blindingly white plain of solid salt, a treasure more valuable than any stone for preserving food. This discovery would revolutionize their fishing industry, allowing them to store food for long periods. The hidden oasis of Kepri, a deep canyon, hidden from the surface, that held a lush and thriving oasis, large enough to support a permanent settlement. It was a vital midway point, a future bastion in the heart of the desert. Iron Mountains, far to the south, they found mountains veined with a strange, heavy red rock. While they did not yet know its true purpose, the Sunstriders brought back samples of this iron ore, a material that would one day shape the very future of warfare. The Sunstriders returned not as conquerors, but as heroes who had tamed the nation's greatest fear. They had proven that the desert was not an end, but a challenge that held its own rewards. As their population grew, Akhamarans didn't conquer, they settled. They established small, self-sufficient communities further north and south along the coastline, always within sight of the life-giving sea. These early outposts became centers of unique crafts, salt harvesting from the coastal flats, pearl diving in the shallows, and the intricate art of basket weaving from desert grasses. This gradual, organic expansion laid the groundwork for their influence, not through force, but through their enduring presence and their mastery of living harmoniously with their environment. While the coastal nations of Akhamar, the Sunstone Republic, and the verdant hegemony were embroiled in the tumultuous Red Sea War, a new power was slowly and silently growing. Right of Akhamar, along the life-giving flow of the Nile River, a new civilization had unified its people. They had been drawn to the river valley for millennia, a place of unparalleled fertility in a world of sand and scrub. They are the dynasty of the two lands, and their story is one of internal unity and quiet mastery. The people of the dynasty had, over centuries, learned to read the rhythm of the Nile's annual floods. They developed a calendar based on the river's cycle, and a sophisticated system of basin irrigation and canals that turned the Nile Valley into a vast, productive granary. Their society was a rigid, but stable, hierarchy, with a divine ruler at the top, the pharaoh, who was believed to be the living embodiment of the sun's power. Their faith was centered around the river and the cycles of life and death, and their monumental architecture, like the early pyramids and mastabas, was built not for war, but for the eternity of their rulers. The first encounters between the Akhamarans and the dynastic people were marked by cautious curiosity and mutual benefit. However, as trade routes solidified and emissaries became a regular sight in each other's capitals, a slow but profound cultural shift began. The pragmatic, decentralized leadership of Akhamar was fascinated by the sheer, unified power of the pharaoh, who could command immense building projects and a seemingly endless supply of resources. Conversely, the isolationist dynastic rulers were intrigued by Akhamar's mastery of the sea and the exotic goods it brought from beyond the horizon, a world they had always considered a mythical realm. This fascination soon gave way to competition. Akhamar, still reeling from the First Great War and squeezed between the Sunstone Republic and the verdant hegemony, began to see the dynastic lands as a new frontier. They expanded not just westward along the coast, but also southward along the wadis that fed the Nile, seeking to establish small trading outposts and settlements. They hoped to secure a direct and exclusive line to the dynastic grain supplies, bypassing the need for a land trade route and the taxes levied by the dynastic rulers. When the first Akhamaran and dynastic ships finally passed through the narrow channels and into the vast expanse of the Mediterranean, their world was forever changed. They encountered entirely new civilizations with different languages, gods, and technologies. The nations on the Mediterranean coast had been trading with each other for centuries and had developed advanced shipbuilding and navigation techniques. This was a shock to the Akhamarans, who had long considered themselves the masters of the seas, and a surprise to the dynastic people, who thought their Nile Valley was the center of all that mattered. This discovery sparked a new kind of expansion, a gold rush for control of the new trade routes. The nations along the Red Sea and Nile began to fiercely compete for influence in the Suez Isthmus. Akhamar, with its seafaring expertise, focused on building new ports and trading posts on the Mediterranean side, becoming the bridge between the two seas. The dynasty of the two lands, meanwhile, extended its control over the land by fortifying the entire canal system, turning it into a highly regulated, toll-based waterway. The pharaoh's government levied taxes on every ship that passed, turning the flow of water into a stream of unimaginable wealth. The discovery of the Mediterranean Sea by Akhamaran and dynastic explorers was a bombshell to the existing powers of that great sea. While the lands of Civilisation were consumed with their own conflicts, a new civilization had been quietly consolidating power on the northern shores of the Mediterranean, the Tyrians. They were a people of merchants and master shipbuilders, who, much like the verdant hegemony, saw the sea as a highway to wealth. Their ships, with advanced sails and sturdy hulls, dominated the central Mediterranean trade routes. Their expansion was marked by the establishment of fortified trading posts and colonies, not through large-scale land conquest, but through economic influence and naval power. At the same time, an aggressive, land-based power was rising to the west, the Aetolians. They were a warrior culture from the mountainous, rugged hinterlands, who unified under a single, military-focused king. They were masters of siege warfare and ground-based armies. Their expansion was a march of conquest, seizing fertile lands and valuable mineral deposits from their neighbors. The Aetolians saw the sea not as a tool for trade, but as a path for their armies to cross and a barrier to be controlled. What an incredible journey so far! Welcome back to What If Civilization Started Over. We've already seen ancient empires rise and a new world order take shape in our first episode. Just in case you got lost in the sands of time, here's a quick recap of our nations. Akhamar Red Circle, the original seafarers, now a bridge between two worlds. The Dynasty of the Two Lands Green Circle, the silent giants of the Nile, now a growing land-based empire. The Tyrians, the wealthy merchants of the Mediterranean, who just found new rivals. The Aetolians Blue Circle, the conquering warriors with their eyes on the ultimate prize. And for all you Countryballs fans, I know you're waiting for them. But as you can see, we're in ancient times. There are no flags just yet. As soon as these nations discover their own unique symbols, their flags will start to appear, and the Countryballs will be born. So, what's next for civilization? Will our four nations clash at the Suez Canal? Will an unexpected alliance be formed? Let me know in the comments below what you want to see in episode 2. Your ideas could help shape the fate of this world. Until then, I'll see you in the next episode, or you can check out my other series, Alternate Future of Europe. Thanks for watching, and remember, history is always waiting to be rewritten.